Hello and welcome. Namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 30 minutes. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw tells the World Economic Forum at Davos that India will grow at 6 to 8% of GDP in real terms and 10 to 13% in nominal terms over the next 5 years. The world's biggest Kashiwazaki Kariwa nuclear power plant is restarted in Japan for the first time after the 2011 Fukushima disaster. And the India-New Zealand rivalry shifts to the shortest format as the men in blue face the Black Caps in the first of the 5 T20Is in Nagpur tonight. Now, it's day 3 of the World Economic Forum Summit that's taking place in Davos. The event has gathered a record number of participants to address complex global geopolitical and economic challenges. Speaking at a session on Can India Become the third largest economy in the world, India's Electronics and Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw said that India's exports have increased despite tariffs and that fundamentals of the economy are so strong that it will help the country sail through this turbulent period.
Resilient economy, the fundamentals, macro as well as micro, are very strong, and that's really helped us through this turbulent period. Our exports have actually increased despite the tariffs. Our producers are finding new markets. We are growing our export sector in multiple ways. For example, electronics exports has now become the third largest exported commodity out of India, after, of course, engineered goods and petroleum products, which was like unbelievable even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, this was unbelievable.
Minister Vaishnaw spoke about cooperative federalism, where the national and state governments work together to usher in reforms. He mentioned a range of reforms which have taken place that have been made possible because of cooperative federalism.
We follow a model of cooperative federalism where the central government and the state governments, we work together to bring out many of the reforms. And some of the reforms which are happening in Maharashtra, in Andhra Pradesh, in Odisha, many of these reforms are now becoming the template for other states to follow. And the labor reforms implementation is a major step. GST simplification, labor reforms, opening the nuclear energy sector to private sector, and reforms in practically every sector. We have 2 groups of ministers which are working on half the ministries in one group, half the ministries in other group, where we are going down to the procedural reforms, to legal reforms, to every possible reform that we can have.
The minister also spoke about how the government has changed laws and procedures to make them forward-looking and simplifying them to make them technology-enabled.
Exercise is right now going to reshape the legal structure tuned to modern times, because many of the laws were written in a time when the government and the political setup of that period, I'm saying of the early from 1950 to 1990, that was a period when the governments were basically very inward-looking. They were very protectionist. Every sector, we are trying to bring in a totally new legal framework, a totally new procedural framework built on the technology stack that we have.
The International Solar Alliance also organized an interactive session at Davos called Scaling Solar Where It Matters. The session focused on India's lessons on rooftop, agriculture and decentralized energy for the Global South. It showcased India's on-ground solar solutions and their replicability for accelerating energy access and development across the Global South. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis said, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Minister for Renewable Energy, Maharashtra has transformed the entire energy landscape in just less than a decade's time.
With the vision of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, we decided to entirely shift the agriculture power load on solar, and we started Asia's biggest decentralized solarization plan, whereby every agriculture feeder was separately solarized. We created a new company to supply power to the farmers, and now around 16 gigawatts of power will be generated through solar, through this distributed system, and will complete this project by the end of this year.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has given a stern message at the European Parliament, saying that the 27-nation bloc must move faster to boost its economy and defences faced with a new world order defined by raw power. She was speaking on geopolitical tensions and the need for the EU to be stronger and more sovereign. Von der Leyen said that the first pillar of EU action is Greenland, which will be a massive investment surge to support economy and infrastructure. She said that the future of Greenland is only for Greenlanders to decide.
We are at a crossroads. Europe prefers dialogue and solutions, but we are fully prepared to act, if necessary, with unity, urgency and determination. Greenland is not just a territory in a key region of the world map and a land rich in critical raw materials, a strategic outpost on emerging global sea routes. It's all of these things. But above all, Greenland is home to a free and sovereign people. It is a nation with its sovereignty and its right to territorial integrity, and the future of Greenland is only for the Greenlanders to decide.
Well, Europe is now considering deploying a trade bazooka, a powerful multi-layered instrument in its arsenal of economic deterrence, a part of which is the announcement expected by the European Parliament on Wednesday itself on the suspension of the approval of the US trade deal agreed in July last year. The agreement set US levies on most European goods at 15%, down from 30% President Trump had initially threatened as part of his Liberation Day wave of tariffs in April. In exchange, Europe had agreed to invest in the US and make changes at the continent expected to boost US exports. The deal still needs approval from the European Parliament to become official. Meanwhile, with President Trump not ruling out using military force to seize Greenland, NATO members are mulling over different ways to respond. France has asked for a NATO exercise in Greenland and is ready to contribute to it. The announcement comes amid rising tensions as President Trump at Davos is expected to intensify his controversial efforts to acquire Greenland despite substantial European opposition. Earlier speaking in Davos on Tuesday, French President Emmanuel Macron said that Europe would not give in to bullies or be intimidated, in scathing criticism of President Trump's threat to impose steep tariffs if Europe does not let him take over Greenland. NATO leaders have voiced serious concerns about the potential repercussions of President Trump's Greenland strategy, which he has controversially linked to his personal grievances over not receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. The situation marks a significant strain in transatlantic relations. And speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent urged European leaders to avoid reflexive anger over President Donald Trump's remarks on Greenland, saying they should hear him out at the forum.
I would tell everyone, take a deep breath. Do not have this reflexive anger that we've seen and the bitterness Why don't they sit down, wait for President Trump to get here and listen to his argument? Because I think they're going to be persuaded.
The UK and Denmark will be holding defence talks in Copenhagen on Wednesday, focusing on security in the Arctic region. The two countries will discuss about how European nations can step up security in the High North, a term used to refer to the European Arctic, which includes the island of Greenland, which is a self-governing territory of Denmark. The UK and Denmark want to protect critical national infrastructure in the Baltics and the High North, and the latest refrain in that has been that of UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying that he will not yield to Trump's pressure over Greenland. He's made those remarks in the British Parliament. Now, from conflicts to financial instability, where the world order is getting increasingly fragile, a reference to which was made by Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney in a speech at Davos. He said that the old order is not coming back and urged fellow middle powers to band together. He called on countries to stop invoking rules-based international order as though it still functions as advertised.
Great powers can afford for now to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, and the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not. But when we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness. We accept what's offered. We compete with each other to be the most accommodating. This is not sovereignty. It's the performance of sovereignty while accepting subordination. First, it means naming reality. Stop invoking rules-based international order as though it still functions as advertised. Call it what it is, a system of intensifying great power rivalry where the most powerful pursue their interests using economic integration as coercion. It means acting consistently, applying the same standards to allies and rivals.
If you're not at the table, you are the menu. That's another term that we've seen Carney use in the speech itself, which has been very impactful and received very, very positively by certain quarters in Europe. Now, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff confirms he's set to travel to Moscow on Thursday to meet Russian President Putin for the next round of talks on Ukraine. And the All India Football Federation has appointed Amelia Valverde as the new head coach of the Indian senior women's national team.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the world's biggest nuclear power plant was restarted for the first time since the 2011 Fukushima disaster, according to its Japanese operator, despite persistent safety concerns among residents. Around 60% of residents opposed the restart, while 37% support it, according to a survey conducted in September. The facility was taken offline when Japan pulled the plug on nuclear power after a colossal earthquake and tsunami sent 3 nuclear reactors at the Fukushima atomic plant into meltdown in 2011. However, resource-poor Japan now wants to revive atomic energy to reduce its reliance on fossil fuels, achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and meet growing energy needs for artificial intelligence. Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae has voiced support for the energy source. 14 reactors, mostly in western and southern Japan, have resumed operation since the post-Fukushima shutdown under strict safety rules, with 13 running as of mid-January. Now, Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff on Tuesday confirmed that he will travel to Moscow on Thursday alongside Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Earlier, the Kremlin had said last week that it was preparing to welcome Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law to Moscow for peace talks on Ukraine.
Plan to discuss peace in Ukraine and Russia.
And how do you think it will go?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that all meetings will go well. We need a peace.
Is Mr. Kushner coming with you?
He is, of course.
And are you meeting Ukrainians later?
We are, sir.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Spanish counterpart Jose Manuel Alvarez held wide-ranging discussions this morning on bilateral cooperation and world affairs. In his opening remarks, Dr. Jaishankar spoke about trade, investments, defense, technology, education and people-to-people ties. He also lauded India and Spain's friendly relations rooted in shared democratic values and respect for multilateralism and the rule-based world order.
India and Spain enjoy warm and friendly relations rooted in shared democratic values and respect for multilateralism and a rule-based order. Our political engagement has grown steadily, marked by regular high-level exchanges. India and Spain will celebrate in 2026, this year, the 70th anniversary of the establishment of our diplomatic relations, as well as the dual year of culture, tourism, and artificial intelligence. This initiative reflects our shared commitment to combining our rich cultural heritage with future-oriented cooperation.
Dr. Jaishankar also reiterated India's stand on zero tolerance towards terrorism, underscoring that this stance is especially significant in the global fight against a scourge that has affected both India and Spain.
Is clearly undergoing a profound change. It is more imperative than ever before for nations to collaborate on shared challenges. This is particularly the case with respect to combating terrorism, where both India and Spain have been victims. The world must display zero tolerance towards terrorism.
And speaking on the economic partnership, Dr. Jaishankar highlighted Spain as an important pillar of India's bilateral relations. He noted that Spain is among India's key trade partners within the European Union, with bilateral trade in goods surpassing $8 billion in recent years.
Partnership is an important pillar of our relationship. Spain is among India's important trade partners in the EU, and our bilateral trade in goods has crossed $8 billion in recent years. Spanish companies have a significant presence in India, particularly in infrastructure, renewable energy, urban mobility, engineering, water management, and smart cities.
On his part, the Spanish Foreign Minister termed India as a reliable country. Minister Alvarez said President Sanchez will visit India and hoped Prime Minister Modi will visit Spain as well. The Spanish Foreign Minister said Spain will upgrade its ties with India to strategic association, which is the highest level of relations. The Spanish Foreign Minister also backed for the early conclusion of the India-EU FTA, saying that it's the right time.
A very good sign would be the final agreement of the FTA with the European Union that we very much would love to see being put forward. Finally, it's the right time for that. We will also express our wish of upgrading our relationship to a strategic association that is the highest level of relationship that we have with friends, like is the case in India.
India and Spain are also celebrating 70 years of establishment of diplomatic relations this year. And on the occasion, Dr. Jaishankar and Minister Alvarez jointly unveiled the India-Spain logo. Now, Republic Day parades rehearsals are ongoing in India's national capital, along with marching contingents. India's defense strength will also be on display. Indian Army contingents taking part in the Republic Day 2026 rehearsal parade at Kartavya Path. A major highlight has been the debut of the long-range anti-ship hypersonic glide missile during the rehearsals. Meanwhile, due to the movement of troops and equipment, traffic restrictions remain in place in central Delhi. Authorities have advised commuters to follow advisories and use alternate routes and have urged the people to cooperate for smooth Republic Day preparations. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the country today. India's Union Cabinet approved a continuation of the government's flagship Atal Pension Yojana up to financial year 2030-31, along with the extension of funding support for promotional and developmental activities and gap funding. APY is a guaranteed minimum pension of 1,000 to 5,000 Indian rupees per month starting at the age of 60 and is based on contributions. The Union Cabinet has also approved the equity support of 5,000 crore Indian rupees to Small Industries Development Bank of India, SIDBI. This infusion of additional capital would enable SIDBI to generate resources at fair interest rates, thereby increasing the flow of credit to micro, small and medium enterprises or MSMEs at competitive cost. Jagargunda in Chhattisgarh Sukma district is becoming economically empowered, with a nationalized bank starting operations after years of Naxal violence. A branch of the Indian Overseas Bank has been established in Jagargunda, witnessing a major transformational shift. Across India, preparations are underway for Saraswati Puja, the festival dedicated to the Hindu goddess of knowledge, music and learning. A towering 64-foot-tall idol of goddess Saraswati has been prepared in Odisha's capital Bhubaneswar. Artisans have worked for over 1.5 months to craft the idol. Let's now get you some quick sports updates as well. The All India Football Federation on Tuesday confirmed the appointment of Amelia Valverde as the new head coach of the Indian senior women's national team, marking a significant step in the Blue Tigresses' preparations for the AFC Women's Asian Cup Australia 2026. Valverde has already linked up with the Indian squad in Antalya, Turkey, where the team is currently in camp ahead of the continental showpiece scheduled for March. The Costa Rican brings with her a wealth of international experience, both at national and club level, having built a strong reputation as one of the most accomplished figures in women's football in the CONCACAF region. In tennis, top seeds Aryna Sabalenka, Coco Gauff and Carlos Alcaraz stormed into the third round of the Australian Open on Wednesday. Sabalenka secured an easy 6-3, 6-1 straight set win over low-ranked qualifier Bai Zhuxuan. Women's world number 1 will next clash with Anastasia Potapova, who defeated 2021 US Open champion Emma Raducanu. Meanwhile, third seed Gauff was equally clinical against Serbia's Olga Danilovic, who ended Venus Williams' campaign in round 1. The two-time major winner took just 78 minutes to get the job done, racing home with a scoreline of 6-2, 6-2. Gauff will next take on fellow American Haley Baptiste. And men's world number 1 Alcaraz started his bid for a career Grand Slam with a 3-set win over home Adam Walton. The Spanish superstar already has 6 major titles, but success at Melbourne Park hard courts remains a glaring hole in his resume. He has not made it past the quarterfinals in 4 trips to Australia. Now, India's final preparations for the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 begin with a 5-match T20 series against New Zealand, starting with the opening match in Nagpur tonight at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. After a 2-1 defeat in the ODI series, Team India, led by Suryakumar Yadav, will aim to bounce back in the shortest format. New Zealand arrived with confidence after achieving several firsts over the past year, including a Test series whitewash and their first ever bilateral ODI series win in India. Now the visitors will look to script another milestone in T20 cricket as well. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.